planning on retiring soon? Then here are 6 smart things you absolutely must do before you retire. Stay tuned. Hi there, if this is your first time to our channel, a reminder that we are health insurance brokers, and spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about health insurance later in the video. So if you have questions about your health insurance, you can reach us in the comments below or at the number on the screen. We are licensed nationwide and there is absolutely no charge for our services. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. So the first thing you're going to want to do if you're planning on retiring soon, and it may be rather common sense, is to make sure you are saving money. Yes, if you are in the home stretch and retirement is right there at the finish line, then make sure that you are saving as much money as you possibly can. But don't just tuck it away in a bank account. Work with a financial planner to determine what will give you the best return. Is it a high-yield savings account, maxing out your 401k, stock market, an HSA with investments? And also, saving money is not just setting money aside, but also not hemorrhaging money where you don't need to. You can lower your taxable income by contributing to certain types of retirement accounts or an HSA or FSA. And that's not just setting money aside for retirement, it's also hopefully helping it grow to be there during your retirement. And when you lower your taxable income, you're either going to have to pay less in taxes or maybe get a larger refund. And remember, there are actually catch-ups depending upon what age you are. Whether you're 50 or 55, depending upon the type of account that we're talking about, you can actually contribute a little bit more if you have the extra money lying around. Yes, I know it's probably not lying around, but if you do have access to extra money and you're wondering where you can maximize it, again, there is that catch-up period if you're over a certain age. Number 2, you want to minimize your debt. If you have mortgages, car payments, credit card debt, tackle as much as possible, starting with the big ones. Now this is where things start to get tricky. It's very easy to say save as much as possible and pay off as much debt as possible, but most people really can't do everything. So take a look at where you are losing the most money through interest, or where you have the opportunity to make the most money, either through interest or return on investments, and compare and contrast to determine what the best use for your money is. But in your zeal to save money and pay off debt, don't lay it all on the line. Make sure you have a sizable emergency fund to set aside for a rainy day. The rule of thumb is at least 3 to 6 months of expenses. And how do you know how much your expenses are? Well, more on that in just a moment. But not only is this a good financial decision, it's also going to help you breathe a sigh of relief when you know that you had that safety net in place. Now, when you're retired, you certainly don't want to be met with larger bills than expected when you're living on a fixed wage, living off of your investments and savings. So pay as much as you possibly can up front if you know you have large expenses coming up. Would you rather work a few extra months now or impact your quality of life after retirement, or maybe even have to return to work? So is your roof in need of repair? Fix it. Planning on buying a new car? Well, either buy it now or set that money aside. Even if it's something like that you plan to contribute towards your child's wedding, even if you're not able to purchase it or pay it off right now, set that money aside and plan that that is its use. Figure these things out now while you're still working and bringing in a regular paycheck. Now, if you're going to set aside a rainy day fund or emergency fund, then you need to have an idea of what your budget actually is. There are a lot of recommendations for how much money you should set aside for retirement. We've got a few videos dedicated to the topic, which I will put in the description below and at the end of the video. But how will you know how much to set aside in retirement if you have no idea what you spend now? Now, true, budgeting and spending is variable. It may change from time to time, but this is at least a good jumping off point. So there are plenty of budget planners and calculators available online, but this one from NerdWallet is pretty good. It's going to ask you to input some information, and then it will spit out a 50-30-20 budget, which we'll talk about in just a minute. It's going to ask you to check all that apply. I'm a college student, parent, homeowner, senior, none of the above. Ask you for your wages after tax. And then this is a little bit of the harder part, your monthly expenses or needs. Things like rent or mortgage or car insurance premiums might be easy, but then some of the stuff that's a little bit more variable might be a little bit tricky. Things like water bills, groceries and other essentials, gasoline, etc. Now, and then it breaks it down into wants. Again, this part is going to be a little bit tricky as well. Things like clothing, dining out, special meals at home. So it may take you a couple of months to really figure out what the more accurate numbers would be, and then your savings and debt repayment as well. Once you put in all of that information, it's going to spit out a 50, 30, 80-20 comparison. So it's going to allocate 50% to necessities, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and debt repayment. And then it'll even allow you to download a spreadsheet. Now, that being said, once you are in retirement, hopefully you've paid off your debt. We've talked about that earlier. And maybe you have to save a little bit less because we're relying on the savings. And once you think you've got it nailed down, test it out. Spend a couple of months or even a year trying to figure out if your budget is accurate and adjust accordingly. Now let's get on to one of the biggest costs in retirement, which is your healthcare spending. And really this can be divided into two categories. If you are planning on retiring before age 65, those health insurance options are of course very different than if you're planning on retiring after 65. So if you are planning on retiring early, that is to say before 65, then Medicare is not going to be available to you. If that's the case, then you could look into, of course, a marketplace plan, a private insurance plan, or a short-term medical plan, which are usually offered by private insurance carriers. First, let's talk about marketplace plans. So if you are retiring early, remember that marketplace is only looking at your MAGI, which is modified adjusted gross income. It's not looking at your savings to determine if you're eligible for a premium tax credit. And those premium tax credits can save you thousands and thousands of dollars per year. So if you are someone who's retiring early and now your income is significantly less, you may qualify for a rather low-cost plan. This is healthcare.gov. Now if you put in your zip code and then answer a few questions, let's say it's us and other people, and we'll say we're married and we're going to file dependents. To continue. About us, let's say we are a 35-year-old male who is a legal parent. Continue. And our spouse is a 35-year-old female who is also a legal parent. Continue. And child 1 is 10, male. None of these. Child 2 is 5, female. None of these. And it's going to ask us to confirm our household members. All right, so that's our household. And now let's estimate our income. Let's say we make $75,000 a year. That is the household income. Continue. Well, guess what? We're eligible for a premium tax credit of $1,141. That's an estimate, of course. And we may be eligible for extra savings with a silver plan. View plans. Just X out of this. And look at that. Based on this information, there's actually plans available to us by the time they factor in the premium tax credit at no cost per month. And then, of course, there are plans that are going to be more than that as you continue to scroll. Right now, it's filtering by lowest premium. But as you can see, based on your income, you may be eligible for rather significant premium tax credits, which could give you very low-cost plans. And there are pros and cons to marketplace plans. So on the marketplace, you'll likely find a mix of EPOs and HMOs, but it's unlikely that you'll find PPOs, which is unfortunate because PPOs will give you more flexibility. You have in and out of network coverage, and of course, you don't need a referral to see a specialist. Now, on the flip side, in the marketplace, there is no medical underwriting, and that is certainly a very good thing because that means you can't be charged more or denied based on your health. All marketplace plans must offer at least the 10 essential benefits, which is definitely another good thing. And then something that could be good and could be bad has to do with those premium tax credits. Now, if you are eligible for a premium tax credit, you can likely access a marketplace plan for a pretty good rate. But if you are ineligible for a premium tax credit based on your income, then marketplace plans can be a little expensive. Then there are private insurance plans and short-term medical plans. Now, short-term medical plans used to be one of our best recommendations for people that maybe made too much to qualify for a premium tax credit through the marketplace, or people that really needed nationwide PPO coverage. Unfortunately, things are changing this year. It used to be that you could have access to a short-term medical plan for a period of up to 3 years, which is really not so short-term. But if you enroll in a short-term medical plan on or after September 1st of this year, 2024, then that's going to be rolled back to a period of no more than 3 months. Now, the benefits of short-term medical plans or private insurance plans is that you have more choice and more flexibility. You'll often have access to a nationwide PPO plan as opposed to the EPOs and HMOs offered in the marketplace, and that is certainly much more flexible, especially if you're someone who is interested in traveling in your retirement. Also, if you're somebody who makes too much money to qualify for a premium tax credit, then marketplace plans can be rather expensive, and actually private insurance carriers may offer you a lower rate. The downside is that private insurance carriers and short-term medical plans can deny you based on a pre-existing condition, or they could charge you more at the very least, and that is of course not the case with marketplace plans. Now, if you're waiting until age 65 or later to retire, then of course you would be eligible for Medicare. If you are somebody, however, that is working past the age of 65 and you're maintaining creditable coverage through your employer, make sure you follow the instructions in the back of the card and send it back, because if you keep the card, you're going to keep Part B and you are going to be charged for it. Just make sure you re-enroll when you do retire. That way you're not subject to the Part B late enrollment penalty. For the rest of you who are retiring at age 65, or you've made sure that you already have enrolled in Original Medicare, including Part B, you have a couple of options. So here are your three main options. You can stick with Original Medicare alone. You can supplement Original Medicare with a Medigap plan, also known as a Medicare Supplement plan, or you could forego Original Medicare and Medigap in favor of a Medicare Advantage plan. Now, Original Medicare is great because it allows you to pretty much see any doctor or hospital. Now, some of the downsides to that is that there's no dental, vision, hearing, or prescription drug coverage. And then, of course, there are additional out-of-pocket costs, things like deductibles, copays, and coinsurance, and there is no out-of-pocket maximum. Now, if you want to keep the benefits of Original Medicare, i.e. no referrals or pre-authorization and no networks, then you might want to supplement it with a Medigap plan. The good thing about that is that you keep all of the advantages of Original Medicare, and now those out-of-pocket costs are going to be covered. The downside of that is that you have to pay an additional monthly premium. And then there are Medicare Advantage plans. These are totally different. These are offered by private carriers. They have to offer at least the same benefits as Original Medicare, but very often they can offer additional benefits, things like dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, amongst others. The downsides of these types of plans is that when they're offered by private carriers, you have to deal with networks, and you also have to deal with the issue of pre-authorization. So what have you done to prepare for retirement? Let us know in the comments below. You can also reach us there if you have any questions about your health insurance, or at the number on the screen. As I said earlier, we are licensed nationwide and there's absolutely no charge for our services. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Before you go, here's one of those videos I mentioned earlier about saving for retirement. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.